Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, back with another video. And this time, we're diving deep into the world of the unknown. I'm talking about those creepy stories that keep you up at night. You know, the ones you tell around a campfire when it's pitch black and every little sound makes you jump. We're talking about highway horror stories, those terrifying tales from the open road that make you question everything you thought you knew about reality. The ones that make you wonder if we're truly alone in this vast and mysterious universe. Because let's be real, there's something inherently unsettling about driving alone at night, right? The way the darkness closes in around you, the feeling of isolation, and the endless stretch of road ahead. It's enough to make anyone's skin crawl, and that's before we even get into the stories, the encounters with the unexplained, the things that go bump in the night. Are you ready to hear about the dark side of the open road? Let's go. Our story takes us to Route 47, a highway enveloped in thick fog and mystery. Locals whisper about strange occurrences, with things vanishing and reappearing in the mist. Imagine driving late at night, your headlights barely cutting through the fog. You're alone, the silence, broken only by your engine and wipers. Shadowy figures appear and vanish, making you question your sight. The air grows heavy with unease, a primal fear creeping in. Suddenly, your headlights catch a flicker of movement up ahead. You squint, straining to make out what it is through the thick curtain of fog. Is it an animal? Another car? Your heart pounds in your chest, a mixture of fear and curiosity urging you forward. As you cautiously approach, the figure in the distance slowly comes into focus. It's a person. A lone figure stands motionless in the middle of the road, shrouded in the swirling mist. Their back is to you, their silhouette barely discernible against the pale glow of your headlights. Your foot hovers over the brake pedal, unsure of what to do. Part of you wants to slam on the brakes, to turn around and speed away from whatever danger might lie ahead. But another part, a morbid curiosity perhaps, compels you to get a closer look. You slow the car to a crawl, your eyes glued to the figure in the road. They haven't moved. They haven't even turned around. It's as if they're completely oblivious to your presence, standing there in the middle of the road like a phantom from another dimension. You roll down your window a crack, the cold, damp air instantly chilling you to the bone. "Hello," you call out, your voice barely a whisper against the eerie silence of the night. "Are you okay?" There's no response. The figure remains motionless, shrouded in the swirling fog. You honk the horn lightly, a short, hesitant burst of sound that seems to be swallowed whole by the dense air. Still, there's no reaction. It's as if the figure is deaf to the world, lost in some silent reverie. You consider your options. You could drive around them, but something about the situation feels off, dangerous even. What if they need help? What if they're hurt? The thought of leaving them stranded on this desolate stretch of road fills you with unease. But then again, what if it's a trap? You've heard stories, urban legends whispered around campfires, of phantom hitchhikers and ghostly apparitions that lure unsuspecting travelers to their doom. Is this one of those stories come to life? Your mind races, torn between the urge to help and the instinct to protect yourself. Taking a deep breath, you inch forward cautiously. Your hand hovers over the horn, ready to blast it. You notice something strange. The figure shimmers, its edges blurring. Suddenly, your headlights flicker. The road plunges into darkness, the figure vanishing. You slam on the brakes, heart pounding. The headlights flicker back on. The figure is gone, vanished without a trace. You sit there, frozen, mind racing. Had you imagined it? Was it a trick of the fog, or something more? A chilling encounter with the unknown. You shake your head, dismissing the thoughts. It had to be your imagination. But as you drive away, you can't shake the feeling of being watched. Our next story takes us to the winding roads of a remote mountain pass, where the darkness holds a different kind of weight. Sarah was driving home alone after visiting family in a neighboring state. This trip felt different. Something was off. The sky was inky black, the moon hidden by clouds, making the road feel desolate. Only the hum of Sarah's car and an owl's screech broke the silence. Sarah shivered, pulling her jacket tighter. It wasn't just the cold. An unexplainable unease chilled her. She glanced at the clock, 2:17 a.m. Just a few more hours and she'd be home. The radio's static was amplified, the music distorted. She switched it off, the silence deafening. As she rounded a particularly sharp bend in the road, Sarah noticed a flickering light in the distance. As she drew closer, she realized it was a street light, its bulb sputtering erratically, casting long dancing shadows across the asphalt. Beneath the flickering glow stood a lone figure, the back to her. Thumb outstretched in the universal sign of a hitchhiker. Sarah hesitated. She'd always been cautious, her mother drilling into her the dangers of picking up strangers, especially on a deserted road in the dead of night. But there was something about the lone figure standing beneath the flickering light that tugged at her conscience. Maybe it was the way their shoulders slumped with what looked like exhaustion, or the way their head hung low, as if carrying the weight of the world. Whatever it was, Sarah found herself slowing down, pulling over to the shoulder of the road, a short distance ahead of the figure. She rolled down her window, just a crack, enough to be heard, but not enough to feel vulnerable. The flickering streetlight cast an eerie, uneven glow on the hitchhiker's face, highlighting sharp cheekbones and eyes that seemed to gleam with an unnatural intensity. They were strangely beautiful, almost ethereal, but there was something about their expression that sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. It wasn't overtly menacing, but there was a certain emptiness behind their eyes, a hollowness that seemed to reach out and touch something primal within her. Just down the road, the figure replied, their voice a low, raspy whisper that seemed to slither through the cracked window and wrap itself around Sarah's bones. I'd be grateful for the ride. It's not safe out here alone. Their words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, despite the fact that the hitchhiker hadn't moved, hadn't even taken a step closer to the car. It was as if their words alone held a power that transcended physical presence. Sarah hesitated, her gut screaming at her to roll up the window, lock the doors, and drive away as fast as she could. But something, whether it was their words or the unsettling aura that seemed to emanate from them, kept her rooted to the spot. The hitchhiker offered a curt nod of thanks and slid into the passenger seat. As soon as the car door closed, an unnatural chill swept through the vehicle, so intense that Sarah could see her breath fogging in the air. The temperature seemed to plummet instantly, the air growing thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Sarah glanced at her passenger, but the hitchhiker's gaze was fixed straight ahead, their expression unreadable in the dim light. She tried to ignore the icy chill that seemed to be emanating from them, focusing on the road ahead, but her hands trembled on the steering wheel and she couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a terrible mistake. "So," Sarah said, trying to break the unnerving silence, "what brings you out here at this hour?" The hitchhiker turned their head slowly, their eyes meeting Sarah's for a fleeting moment. In that brief instant, Sarah felt a surge of pure terror course through her veins. The hitchhiker's eyes seemed to burn with an unnatural intensity, and their lips curled into a subtle, almost predatory smile. "Secrets," the hitchhiker whispered, their voice barely audible above the sudden howling wind that had picked up outside the car. "This road, it's full of secrets." Okay, so this last story, this one really gets under my skin. It's about being totally alone, driving on a road so dark, you feel like you could be the only person left on Earth. That's the kind of vibe we're talking about here. And to make things worse, imagine your phone is dead, no signal for miles, and your only company is the radio. So, picture this. It's like 3 a.m., right? This guy, let's call him Mark, he's driving home from a late night shift. He's on this backcountry highway, like one of those roads where you don't see another car for hours. And it's creepy, like super creepy. The kind of creepy where you crank up the music just to have some noise, some sign of life, you know? But here's the thing. The music isn't helping. In fact, it might be making things worse. Because Mark, he starts to feel like something's off. Like, he keeps getting this weird feeling that someone or something is watching him. And to make matters worse, the radio starts acting up. I mean, it's like the classic horror movie trope, right? The radio, it starts cutting out. Static. This high-pitched whine, and then silence. Dead air. And every time the silence hits, Mark swears he can hear this low growl, like right outside his window. He's freaking out, obviously. Who wouldn't? So Mark's freaking out, right? He's trying to convince himself it's just the car, you know, old engine, maybe some loose wires messing with the radio. But deep down, he knows something is wrong. Very wrong. And that's when it happens. The radio, it crackles back to life. But it's not music anymore. No, it's something far more sinister. At first it's just whispers, faint and distorted, like voices lost in the static. Mark strains to hear, leaning closer to the speakers, his heart pounding in his chest. The whispers get louder, more insistent, and then, clear as day, a voice breaks through. A raspy, guttural voice, and it's speaking directly to Mark. "Turn around," the voice hisses. "Get off this road." Mark's blood runs cold. He grips the steering wheel, knuckles white, his eyes darting back and forth between the road ahead and the menacing radio. He doesn't know what to do. He's frozen in fear. The voice on the radio grows angrier, more demanding. It screams at Mark, threatening him, telling him he's made a terrible mistake by being on that road. Mark feels a surge of adrenaline. He knows he has to get out of there, and fast. Mark slams his foot on the accelerator, pushing his car as fast as it can go. He doesn't care about speed limits anymore. He just needs to get away from that voice, from whatever is lurking in the darkness. The radio continues to scream, the distorted voice echoing through the car, filled with rage and something else. Something that sounds almost like hunger. He's flying down the highway, the wind whipping past his car, but he can't outrun the voice. It's like it's following him, haunting him. He glances at the radio, sees the dial spinning wildly, as if possessed by some unseen force. This is the part of the story where you're like, come on, Mark, use your brain, turn off the radio, and you know what? He tries. But it's like the radio is stuck. He tries to turn it off, to change the station, but nothing works. The voice continues to blare through the speakers, relentless, terrifying. He's starting to think he's going crazy. I mean, wouldn't you? Alone in the dark, this voice tormenting you. It's the kind of stuff nightmares are made of. Just when Mark thinks he can't take it anymore, he sees it, a light in the distance, a beacon of hope piercing through the darkness. He pushes the car harder, desperate to reach the light. It's a gas station, its lights glowing like a lifeline. He pulls in, his car skidding to a stop. The engine cuts out silence. The voice is gone. He sits, heart racing, gasping for breath. Did that really just happen? He looks at the radio. No sound. He turns it off. Stepping out, he feels the cool night air. Grateful for the sight of another human being. He doesn't know what he would have done without this place. He'll never forget the terror of the radio screams. So, there you have it. 3 true highway horror stories that will keep you up at night. The next time you find yourself driving alone on a dark road, remember these tales. Keep your eyes on the road, your ears peeled for anything unusual, and whatever you do, don't pick up any hitchhikers. Be careful out there on those open roads. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.